All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee movie Wheeljack. This is another one of the Bumblebee movie's Cybertronian designs from the first few minutes of the movie that I've been pretty excited about. And yeah, it's Wheeljack. He looks really nice in his Cybertronian car mode here. It's maybe a smidge too derivative of Earth cars for my liking. Like it doesn't look quite as alien as Bronze alternate mode, for example. But I think it's kind of sci-fi enough for it to work. It rolls really nicely, which is honestly not something that I take for granted on modern Transformers nowadays. Like a lot of them have kind of like stiff wheels or like just enough undercarriage to drag against the ground. But yeah, no, it's really great to just have a car that you can actually just roll across the table back and forth. He comes with this gun here. In terms of storage, it's got this little oddly shaped tab on just one side of the gun here, and then he's got a slot there on his hands. And what you want to do with his little like spoiler, I guess, pieces is just kind of like bend them out to the side a little bit just to fit that in there. So it kind of sits like this. And because of the placement of the tab, the gun barrel sits more or less kind of in the center of the car. And that looks okay. It sticks out a little bit from the back here, and it is kind of just the gun pegged onto a car thing, which usually I'm not a huge fan of. It bothers me way less with Cybertronian modes because like they don't have the disguise element, but it doesn't look as good with the gun on there. But it's cleaner than a lot of guns being pegged onto the top of cars, weapon storage. But I generally prefer the look without it. But that is where it goes if you need it to go somewhere. In terms of comparisons, first of all, here he is with Brawn from his Bumblebee movie design, and they look pretty good together. He's a little bit smaller but taller, a little bit more of like a stout vehicle, and he, just like I said, like this definitely doesn't look anything like anything from Earth, whereas this still looks vaguely car-y, so I don't know, I think they still look good together. For a standard size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. Here he is with the Bumblebee movie Soundwave design in his weird sort of Cybertronian mode. Here he is with Bumblebee movie Ravage. Here he is with the Shockwave design, which is obviously not in scale because he's a core class figure, but still cool. And then last but not least, here he is with Earthrise Wheeljack. Just so you can see some of the similarities there in the general picked out colors of the car. And he's kind of small. Like Brawn, I expected to be kind of small because he's like a mini bot from the original cartoon, so he should be a smaller character, whereas Wheeljack really feels like he should be a little bit bigger. I mean, I guess the studio series live action scale is a little bit smaller in general than the generation scale. But it's still cool to see this together, but I just wasn't expecting the figure to be like so small, really. In terms of transformation, he's got some neat stuff going on. First thing you want to do is take these sections in the back and just kind of bend them up like this. These will be his arms, and then untab them from each other and kind of bring them up on these hinges here, so you can take these sections and rotate them around like that. Kind of a weird sort of transformation there, but it's kind of neat. Then from the bottom here, you want to take this gray panel and rotate it up like that and just bend it here. And his head is actually rotated sideways in there. So you just want to rotate that forward and bring that up. And then these two little tabs on this armature will go into these two little slots on the wheel wells of the car mode. Just like that. I can bring his arms down for now. Then you want to untab this whole section here from the bottom part, and you just want to bring that up for now, and then we can rotate him around at the waist. And then this section here, you want to take this little panel and rotate that down onto his chest, take this front panel and rotate it to the inside, and then this little gray armature piece kind of like hooks underneath this piece, so you kind of want to bring it up like that and then kind of lock it into place, and then bring the whole chest section down, and that will just tab onto the front there. Then for the legs, you just want to untab them, can bring the feet down. Now, I kind of wish that these sections became his feet, because then it would be more G1 accurate, but I get to the movie, he didn't really have like the car feet, so they made them his heels instead. But yeah, you bring these sections down, and then these little panels with the wheels on them you want to untab and bring to the back. They're on this little like hinge and clip section, which can be kind of hard to maneuver without unclipping it. But once you get the hang of it, you want to bring it back like that. We'll do that on both sides here. So you just want to, yeah, see that happens a lot where you're just trying to maneuver this hinge so you can kind of like, you know, get the clearance to move it back all the way and just end up unclipping it. You know. Then these panels on the side of the legs here, we want to rotate down like this, and then they'll actually kind of, you know, sort of loosely tab in place with these. It's kind of just an alignment of a place where it's supposed to go. Neither of these parts really move around, so they don't really need to tab into each other, but they don't. So yeah, you just want to bring that panel around on the other side as well. Just get it in place, and then with this panel on the front of his legs, you want to pull it out. It's on a bit of a slider, and then rotate it down, and then push it back in. So you can see this little cutout section here kind of sits on the panel that we just rotate on the side of his leg. So do that on both sides. And then last but not least, just bring the arms down, and then his little winglet things are actually on the back of his arms, not on his back. So you just rotate those up. And there you have Wheeljack in his robot mode. And yeah, he looks pretty good. He's, like I said, maybe a little bit small, which I'll get into more in comparisons, but he definitely looks a lot like the design from the movie. He's got a great head sculpt here with a really cool amount of detail on there, like the layering of his faceplate there and his little side, you know, head pieces there. Very cool. It's kind of, you know, like a movie design. It definitely feels like it pulls inspiration from the Transformers Prime Wheeljack, where he had his like head things on the side were a little bit more swept back. But yeah, no, he looks really cool. In terms of articulation, his head is on a ball joint, so he gets, you know, a little amount of wiggle back and forth, and then obviously rotation. The arms are also on ball joints. Now, unfortunately, because these pieces are attached to the arms, not to the back, when you rotate his arms up, those go with it. I'm not crazy about that, but, you know, I get why it had to happen. But obviously the arms can go out to the side, and then, you know, if you rotate this out, you can also rotate the wing back a little bit, so it can kind of just, you know, when you rotate it forward, there's really no hiding the fact that that's on his arm. He's got a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow for transformation, nothing at the wrists. He's got a waist cut. Hips can go forward, back, out to the side, only about that much. He's got a thigh swivel. The hips on mine are maybe a little bit looser than I'd like them. They're not like super crazy floppy loose, but just like having it in hand, this just moves a little bit easier than I'd like it to. In terms of knee articulation, it's about 90 degrees, maybe a degree or two under, just because of all the stuff that he's got in the back of his leg here. And then his feet can tilt back just a little bit, forward just a little bit, and they are, I think, on ball joints if I'm looking at it correctly, so you can get some tilt out of it. It's a very stiff joint, so it doesn't like right away feel like it's going to move, but it does get about that much ankle tilt, which is nice. He can obviously hold his weapon here. It's a very tight connection with the hand, and he looks good with that. In terms of storage, he's got just ripped his arm panel off. Yeah, the how did that even there? Okay. The connection between the gun and the hand is really tight. In terms of storage, he's got a peg back here, and there's a hole back here, and there's a peg on the gun, so you can kind of sling it over his back like that. And that works much better than the stupid kind of weird tiny peg weapon storage that Braun had. And I'm pretty sure that's actually like a fully dedicated weapon storage port, because that port is just completely inside of the alternate mode and, you know, doesn't really have any other purpose. So you could plug it on like that. It does stick up a little bit from the back. You could also peg it on with the handle of the gun, which, you know, sits a little bit lower, but, you know, isn't quite that sideways gun slinged across his back kind of look. But either works. I think that's pretty good weapon storage in this mode, at least. And yeah, in terms of comparisons, just for the standard one, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see a little short there compared to an average size Deluxe. Here he is again with the Bumblebee movie Shockwave design, very tall compared to him. Here he is again with Soundwave and Ravage, also from the Bumblebee movie designs. Here he is again with Brawn from the Bumblebee movie design. Obviously, you can see like this is where it falls apart a little bit for me because like he's shorter, he's definitely taller than Brawn, but I sort of feel like it should be more about this scale between Wheeljack and Brawn, so he should be about that height. I don't know. It's not that big a deal, and they still do look good to each other. They still look good with each other. It's just a little bit closer in height than I'd prefer that they be. And then lastly, here he is again with Earthrise Wheeljack. Obviously, you can see like a bit shorter than Earthrise Wheeljack, and obviously very different designs. Him being more of the Generation aesthetic, and him being the Travis Knight movie aesthetic. But yeah, no, he's a good figure overall. In terms of like his robot mode, I think he looks really good. The vehicle mode, I think, looks really good, even if the weapon storage isn't like quite perfect. It's at least better than Bronze. His articulation all feels good. Most of his joints, for the most part, feel good. There are some issues getting his like shoulders to stay locked in up here, but it's not too big a deal. And his transformation is fun. There are some spots where it kind of feels like you're like stretching stuff past each other a little bit more than I'd like. So there's some clearance stuff, but you kind of get used to that as the longer you have a toy. Just find ways to do it a little bit more efficiently. But yeah, no, he's not quite as fun as Brawn overall, but he is a fun figure overall. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Wheeljack.